Ged was sat among the rafters of the bar, hidden in a dark corner, his coat even blending in with the wood effect beams. He had a drink and a snack, so he could wait for his bounty, who had been seen coming here several times in the last few weeks. The bar wasn't what you'd call a shining example of Martian peoples, more a dive where the bottom of society come. Several drunks were sleeping, a few locals with nothing better to do were playing darts and drinking their way to drunk. Ged had a soda and a salmon sandwich. He intended to be sharp for when Nicole arrived in the bar. He wasn't even really sure why she came here. She'd stolen quite a bit of currency. She could be held up on some snowy cabin on Earth. Instead, she's frequenting a dive bar in Gem City, the turd of the southern cities. It even smelled like a dive, old, cheap booze staining the carpet. The light bulbs were grimy. It really wasn't to Ged's liking. Nor would the barman or two of the darts players be pleased to find out he was here. The data in his HUD indicated that the darts players were wanted men, but between them they would barely pay a week's rent. Still, once Nicole is in the bag, might as well grab some spending money. The barman was a Martian canine, but he was no sniffer dog. His nose was running constantly. That, on top of the smell of booze, ensured that his sense of smell was useless, though that was true of Ged as well. He had gotten the tip 2 days ago. She apparently visits the bar twice a week, always during the daylight afternoon, so Ged had spent the last 2 afternoons here, hiding among the rafters, waiting for her to arrive. The end of this afternoon would mark the end of day 3, so Ged was getting bored, even playing a few games while he waited. It was around 5 p.m. when she finally walked into the bar. She was in the body of a Martian anima, but she was a body hopper, so who knows what her first body was like. Ged immediately closed his game and turned his eyes toward her, her clothing rippling with the distinctive quality of polyplastic, ready to change form at a moment's notice. She was also carrying a weapon, though it appeared to be a hand grip only, likely a collapsible weapon, difficult to be sure what kind, so Ged had to be prepared for anything, even an attack from outerwear. Nicole went directly to the bar, where the barman was already pouring a drink, a Martian sunrise of all things. She paid and moved to a corner, sitting in the nicest booth in this bar. Ged watched her as she took a sip and settled back, her body moving to automatic. She'd entered the virtual realms. Ged settled back into his own dark corner and accessed the bar's server. He'd hacked in on the first day of this stakeout, so he had easy access to it. Copying his mind to the server, Ged set up a live link, so his body wasn't going to need to switch to auto. Besides, he needed to secure her body and the 2 darts players. The bar's virtual realm was small and simple. Not much detail or effort was put into it, but she hadn't connected to the bar's realm, nor was Ged expecting her to be here. He moved quickly to the server controls and transferred to the Gem City hub, immediately scanning the crowd for her ID. His in-eye software didn't take long to identify her, only because he knew her point of origin. She didn't look the same at all, her virtual body appearing to be that of a late-teens Venusian human. Ged slipped on a disguise as well, a typical Natura human, before following her, keeping to the crowd. She headed directly for the laser network and transmitted off-world. The Saturn hub was her destination, so Ged went directly for the Saturn hub too. She wasn't going to get away by riding the light network. She was too valuable to him. The Saturn hub is smaller than the Martian one, but stylized to look like a grove among trees that stretch into the clouds above, with many tiers of walkways and portals to numerous public realms. She was headed for the Silver Spire hub, transferring through it before Ged arrived. This time he deployed his drone AI with instructions to wait for her return, copying his human disguise onto it as a body before heading through himself. Rats. The Silver Spire city and its virtual hub were teeming with rats. They were around Ged's height, mostly around 80 centimeters tall, so Ged quickly switched to his normal appearance. easier to blend when you're a similar height to everyone else. Something she had also done. The Venusian form she had taken was nowhere to be seen, so Ged moved to an upper walk, somewhere he could overlook the foot traffic in this hub. The grand glass and silver detail work, statues of great rats, and one of Robert C. O'Brien, an author from Earth in the 20th century. He couldn't see her anywhere. She'd probably hopped another laser somewhere else, so Ged made himself comfortable in the Silver Spire hub. Back at the dive bar, Ged had moved to action shortly after sending his copy off to apprehend her mind. Standing up on the beam and moving to the doors, he reached down with his chameleonic arm and shut the bolts before his attack. Once the front doors were bolted, stealth became unnecessary, leaping from the beam at the barman and landing on his chest with the stun glove on the canine's wet nose. The barman collapsed immediately, putting Ged behind the bar and ready for the patrons, the ones sober enough to realise the fight was actually happening. One of them pulled a gun and let off 3 rounds at the bar. Ged ran around the end of the bar into the legs of the gunman, sliding into them and bringing the Martian to the floor, where Ged was waiting with a well-placed blow to the throat, kicking the gun from his hand as his fist landed. Ged wasted no time, leaping from the ground and onto the table beside another patron, knocking him down with an overhead kick, before crouching down and grabbing a half-full beer glass to use as a projectile. Ged moved with a swift grace that none in the bar could match, launching the glass at one of the wanted men, while dodging darts and fists. Ged took each patron one by one, though 3 never woke from their drunken stupors. The 4 that were awake had all made the same mistake. They all expected he was here for them, though 2 were just drunkards and thugs, nor was the barman on the bounties list that Ged worked from. Once they were all subdued, Ged collected the minds and bodies of the 2 low-value bounties, then approached Nicole's body, disarming it of the weapon before placing a headset on it and sending in his attack programs to secure her body. The programs quickly reported back. The body had no barrier software, no virtual realm, just a small drone AI maintaining the body and sipping the drink. She had not intended to return to it this time. The body's serial code indicated that it was stolen, so at least it was worth a reward, but Ged was sure she was in the wind again. Even in the Silver Spire hub, Ged had seen no sign of her. She had likely changed form as she arrived, ducking off into a private realm or to a waiting body, probably out around Saturn. Days away, even on a fast ship, more likely weeks. She was out of Ged's range, unless he could secure a body here, but even light took time to get between Mars and Saturn. Too much for a live connection, so he headed back for Mars, collecting his drone on the way. She was still out there, hopping around the system. Ged was determined to get her next time she comes to Mars, so after calling the authorities and bounties departments, he messaged his contacts. He wanted to know the moment she was back on Mars. "I'll get you next time, Nicole," he said as he climbed onto the shoulder of her abandoned body, directing it to the residence of Senator Morgan Dale Winstead Lahr, the original owner of the body.